Hi and welcome to another very exciting tutorial. Today we are going to talk about in-app purchases. In-app purchases are a great way to provide your app for free in the App Store and then get some money for premium features, like from Paper by 53. There you can buy some nice pencils and brushes and color palettes and a color mixer as in-app purchases, but the app itself is offered for free. So how can you integrate this into one of your apps? I'm going to show you this with a little demonstration, a demo app that's pretty simple. We have an image view here in the iPhone 6 simulator, and we have three actions that we can use to do something with images, and we have a Go Premium button here. So when we choose our take photo, we can decide whether we use the camera roll to get an already taken picture or take a photo with the camera of your iOS device. So since I'm in the simulator, I'm going to take the photo from the camera roll, and I can then choose an image. The image is displayed in the image view, and I can apply a filter. I have a black and white filter now applied to this image, and I can save the image to the camera roll. And once I go premium, I also get the ability to add another amazing filter, which is a sepia tone filter, which we will see in some minutes when we get to that. And we will display an action sheet that will actually take the responsibility of applying the sepia effect or the black and white filter effect. But this only happens when you have bought the Pro features by clicking on the Go Premium button and clicking on the buying the in-app purchase that we have set in this example to 99 cents. So how can you accomplish this, and how can you use the this in-app and how can you now implement in-app purchases within your own application? Well, you've already seen maybe the iTunes Connect screenshot in the background. So you have to adjust some settings, and a lot of settings actually, in order to make this work. You will have to work with iTunes Connect, which looks like this, and you have to work with the Member Center, the iOS Developer Center, to create a provisioning profile, to create an app identifier, and so on. What you maybe already know from other apps you have created. So it is essential that you are a registered member or you have bought a membership in the Apple Developer Connection, at least for iOS. So once you have bought this membership, and once you have access to iTunes Connect, which looks like this, you have to create an application, and you click on this My Apps button here, and what you see then is a list of your applications, and you have to click on the plus and create a new application, which looks like this, and you have to give it a name. I named it Filter Go Pro, and you also have to choose the version and an SKU identifier, which I always use, a combination of date and time, and a primary language, which is English in our case, and the bundle ID. And as you can see, register a new bundle ID on the developer portal. And so you have to go to the developer portal using this link, and then you create your app ID. You have to give it the ability of in-app purchases, and then you can select this bundle ID here. And this bundle ID must be chosen for your application itself. And I have used reversed domain, which is com training. I do not own training, but for the demo purpose, I always choose this. Reversed domain. And once you've created the app, you can see something like this. and you can provide some information for the app here, upload video and screenshots and so on. But we're not interested in that, actually. We are only interested in the in-app purchases, which you can find here. And once you click on that, you can see if you've already created some in-app purchases, you can see them here. And once they are approved by the reviewers of Apple, you can also see that. But we don't care about them. We just create a new in-app purchase by clicking on this button. And then you get to this select type page, which offers you consumables, non-consumables, and auto-renewable subscriptions. So actually the description here speaks for them, or all descriptions speak for themselves. So obviously we have a non-consumable in-app purchase because you buy the additional service once and you can always reuse it. We do not offer credits or something like that, or a specific number of times you can apply the filter and then you have to renew or you have to re-download some credits to perform the image effect again. So we have a non-consumable in-app purchase. So you select non-consumable, and then you have to enter a reference name and a product ID. The reference name is just for yourself. The product ID is what we have to use later to identify the in-app purchase type. So you could offer a small pack of image filters or a gigantic pack of image filters and choose a different price for both. So once you have entered this information, enter the pricing and availability details for this in-app purchase below. So it is cleared for sales, so you specify that you want it to be allowed to be sold. And you can now select a price tier. You can have a look at the pricing matrix here in order to choose which price you really want to charge for your feature. I've just selected tier 1. So once I have completed all the necessary information, I entered all the necessary information. You can see the summary here. So I called the in-app purchase Pro Filter. The product ID is Com Training Pro Filters. It's non-consumable. Apple gives it an ID. And I have selected price tier 1, which is 99 cents in the US. And you also have to specify this in-app purchase details, which is something that is seen by the user later. And you can add these details for different languages. I just added English. And so this display name is actually the name the user is going to see when he buys the this in-app purchase. And this is the description that also the user is going to see. And you will also have to provide a screenshot of the in-app purchase for Apple when you send your app to the reviewers. So as you can see, it is currently waiting for a screenshot, but that doesn't matter since we do not want to release this app to the store. We can just skip that for this demo. And what we have to do next is returning back to the iTunes Connect homepage and click on the users and roles. Since you do not want to spend real money when you're testing, you have the ability to create special sandbox testers. So you click on sandbox testers and add one. So this looks like this. You can enter some information. This is not a real email address. So you should select a real email address to be able to confirm this email, to confirm this account, since this is necessary for you to test your application later. And once you have filled out all the information, you get back here and you can see your testers here. And then what is really important is that you log in to your test device or the simulator with the login credentials you entered for the sandbox tester. So you actually have to go, just opening a simulator here, you have to go to the settings, you have to select not the iCloud account, which I only can do here. You have to select let me just have a quick look on my real device. What's it called? It is iTunes and App Store, and you have to enter the Apple ID that you have created here. This is actually the Apple ID you have to enter, also with the password that you have entered here in iTunes Connect. So once all of this is completed, you can actually start developing your application. And this is what we're going to do. But wait, when talking about in-app purchases, this is some heavy coding sometimes. And you have to pay attention to a lot of stuff, and then you have to work with many delegate methods if you do it the Apple way. But when you've watched earlier tutorials, we already worked with Parse, which is awesome. So when we have a look at Parse, you can have a look at this at Parse by yourself. Let me just say that it takes very much of background coding, server coding from your shoulders, and lets you just focus on your iOS app and yeah, the server stuff like doing push notification stuff and so on. You can handle this with Parse really easy. So when you have a look at the docs of Parse, then you can see that when you select iOS and OS X, that there is a specific header, which is in-app purchases. And Parse is really easy. With Parse, it's really easy to integrate in-app purchases to your application. And if you do not want to use server-side code or use something like implementing a chat by yourself or anything, if you just want to use Parse for in-app purchases, this is just fine because it's so simple and just a great time saver. And when you have a look at the pricing, you will see, let me just click on that and activate pricing. Then you see that when you send 30 requests per second, Parse is completely free. That means that actually when you have an application uploaded to the App Store, you would have to reach a number of users so that they would actually 30 times per second buy something in your app, performing an in-app purchase. And actually when 30 people a second are buying something from you, and even it's just for 99 cents and you only get 70% of these 99 cents, then you're rich. So I wouldn't care about this, about using Parse. If you just want to get on the way and just integrate in-app purchases in your application, so go for it, use Parse, it's really worth it, and it's free. So after all this exciting adjustments and settings and stuff, let's go to our favorite environment, Xcode, which is in its final version, and it's great. And let's go on and create our application. We will have to integrate Parse later. So let me close that for now, and let's just focus on the app functions for now. So let's select a single view application, click next, and call it had a cool name, Filter Go Pro, right? Filter Go Pro, I think. Yeah, Filter Go Pro. And we'll just select Swift as our language and enter com.training as our bundle identifier. And as I told you, when you create this example, then take care that your bundle identifier is not com.training, but it is your reverse domain or whatever you use in your when developing your own applications. So let's say next and create the application on the desktop. Create, there it is. And let's just make this a little bigger here. All right, so let's go to the storyboard and let's use, for the first time actually, since the iPhone 6 is released and the iPhone 6 Plus is released, we can take advantage of these new size classes. The next tutorial is going to focus specifically on the size classes and how you can master them. Let's, for now, just see the basics and put an image view to our view controller. Just give it a same width and height. Let's say 340 by 340, something like that. And let's place it somewhere in the center with some spacing to the top. And let's add some buttons. So one button here, which is choose or take photo. Bring it to center. Let's add another button, which is apply filter. Also bring it to the center. Let's also add save image. Also center this. And you see how you get these nice guidelines which tell you when you really are at the right spot. And let's add this Go Premium. Go Premium. So let's add that here. So, and as you can see, this is not a familiar size, neither of the iPhone 6, nor the 6 Plus, nor the iPhone 5 or 5S. So we'll have to set some constraints here that tell Auto Layout how to position our UI elements on the screen. Let me first give this a little color here, light gray color maybe, so that we can see this this image view. And let me just close the simulator and let's run this so that you can see what we have at the moment, which is not pretty satisfying. Let me just make this a little smaller. So something like this. This doesn't look too good, and this is an iPhone 6. What we have to do is giving it some constraints. How are we going to do that? Well, first of all, we will have to define a space between the top border of this container, which is our view controller, and we can do this by simply Control-click on our UI element, which is an image view, and we can now drag to its super view, which is our view controller. And if I release the mouse, I can say I want a constraint to the top space to top layout guide, and then something like this happens. So this tells Auto Layout that this container here, the image view, will always have this distance from the top layout guide. But you can also see that these lines around the image view are orange, which tells us that there are some errors. You can also see this if you have a look at this overview, that here is a red circle with a white arrow in it, and you can see that there are missing constraints. And we have to check that all of these constraints that we're going to see later are going to turn blue. So what we do now is we have to specify a width and height for our image view, and we will just simply click drag here within our image view and say that it does not have a specific width or height. It should adapt according with its aspect ratio according to the screen size. And we're also going to do that by control dragging to the outside and say that we want this this position, the X position, according to the aspect ratio. So you can see now that we have some blue lines here. What we also have to do is taking these buttons into account. So we will give this a vertical spacing according to the distance between the image view and the first button, and we will just fix the vertical spacing here. So that's this. And we'll also specify that these buttons, by control clicking here, these buttons are centered horizontally in the container. All right, and you can see very much that this is now turning blue, and we have to do this with all the other buttons as well. Center horizontally, done, and center horizontally. All right, and now you can see there are only two things missing here. The image view is expected at a certain X position, and what we do now here is just saying that this also is centered horizontally, and as you can see now everything is blue here, and we have to do the same to this Go Premium button, and we can now, and this is important actually, it matters whether you control click to the top or to the left or to the right, because you get different options whenever you you get different options depending on the direction you're dragging the mouse. So if I drag to the right, I can choose trailing space to container margin, which is this space, and if I drag to the bottom, I get bottom space to bottom layout guide. And as you can see, also these constraints have turned blue, and we can now run the app, and you can see this is now the iPhone 6, and this looks really good. And if we have a look at it, let's say on the 6 Plus, which is really big, it also looks very nice. So let's go back to the 6, run again, and there we go. So now that we have created our user interface, taking advantage of the of auto layout and the size classes, we can now connect it with our code. We will simply use the view controller that is already created, and we will just add one outlet, which is the image view. I'm just calling it image view. And we will add many actions, like here, we will add an action for choose photo. We'll have an action which is called, oh, I did not choose action. Well, let me just delete this outlet here and click on the button and click on the connection inspector and delete this connection. And let's do that again, selecting action, and this time doing it right. Choose photo. Next up is apply filter. We'll just call it action. Apply filter. Then we have a save image, which is an action. And then we have the GoPro action. So let's call this GoPro. All right, now we have connected everything with our code. So let's go into our viewcontroller.swift file, and let's just go from top to bottom by starting with choose photo. We're going to need an image picker controller, so let's create one. Image picker controller equals UI image picker controller, and let's initialize it just using standard initializer. We will have to add an image picker controller delegate. So this is going to be self, and we get an error since we have not adopted the protocol. And we were adopting it here at the top after UI view controller, saying UI image picker controller delegate. And when you adopt to the image picker controller delegate, you also have to adopt to the UI navigation controller navigation controller delegate. So that is that. Now we will provide the user with an action sheet once he taps on the choose photo button. So we have to create one action sheet, and we're using the UI alert controller class for that, giving it a title. Let's say choose image source. Don't need a message then. And the UI alert controller style is not an alert view, it's an action sheet. And we will then add a first action using the add action method, and adding an action using this initializer, and the first title is take photo, the style is UI alert, action style default, and just creating a handler. You can do this really easily by just hitting enter once you have reached this this point in code, and you can then also create this parameter here, just typing its name, colon, pressing tab on your keyboard, pressing enter, and everything is done. And we can then enter our code. And since we take a photo now, we can adjust the image picker controller, its source type, and set it to UI image picker controller source type camera. And then we can present it. Self.present view controller animated, which is the image picker controller. It should animate, and we don't need a completion block. And since we want to do exactly the same, just with another source type. We can just copy this code and saying here instead of camera, say photo library. And that's it. And now let's paste the same code again, just with another title, which is cancel, and we have to change that here too to camera roll, and this is the cancel style, and we can actually delete this whole handler here and place nil, since we just want to this button to be there so that you can close the alert, the action sheet. And now we just have to present the action sheet. So let's say self-present view controller, which is the image picker controller, animated true, and let's just have a quick look. All right, choose or take. Oh, we just saw the image picker controller because I presented the image picker controller. We obviously want to present the action sheet, sorry. Now you can see the action sheet, choose image source. I click on camera roll and you see all the images that are stored on the simulator. And actually we're done with the choose photo function already. Now what we have to do is implement the delegate method for our image picker controller, which is image picker controller did finish picking media with info. Be aware that the did finish picking image with image looks tempting to use, but it's actually deprecated since iOS 3. So always use did finish picking media with info. Just looks a little more complicated since you have a dictionary here, but it's actually pretty simple. We just create an image, which is a UI image, and assign the dictionary, and we access the dictionary's key value pairs by specifying a predefined key, which is UI image picker controller, UI image picker controller original image picker controller. Original image. All right, and now we just have to cast this to a UI image, and that's all there is. And now we can simply assign this image to our image view, which we have defined as an outlet by saying imageview.image equals image. Oh, well, and then the last thing we have to do is dismissing the picker, the image picker controller, by just taking this parameter and say picker.dismiss view controller animated true with no completion block. Let me just correct that here. True. And now let's check this again. And choose or take photo, camera roll, and there it is. So let's just make sure that our image view here has the right content mode, which should be content mode aspect fill. So if we run this again, you can see actually when we take the photo that it's filled and that it does not scale to fill, and that the aspect ratio is taken into account for when. So now let's just go back to the storyboard for a quick moment and change the content mode to aspect fill so that we have the correct aspect ratio when we display an image. And now let's go and handle the apply filter function. Therefore, we're going to write a little function ourselves, which is going to be called therefore, we're going to write a little function ourselves, which is going to be called apply filter with name, and then we give it a filter name parameter, which is a string. And because we want to be able to choose between two different filters when you're a pro user, we just write our own function for that. So first, what we need to do is storing the original orientation and the original scale of our current image, since we're working with core image. This is going to get rid of the original orientation and scale of the image and sets it, so it could happen that we get a rotated image once we applied a filter to it. So therefore we store the image orientation and the image scale. So let's create two constants. The first one, original orientation, which is going to be the image view dot image orientation, and we can unwrap this since we will have to we will only call this this method when an image is actually set for the image property of the image view. And let's also create the original scale, which is the image view dot image, unwrap it and its scale. So now let's create an input image for our image processing, which is going to be a CI image, and we will initialize it with an image, with an UI image, and this is the image view dot image. All right. Now we will create a drawing context, which is a CI context, and we will initialize it with nil as options since we don't need them. And let's also create some filter parameters, which is going to be a dictionary, which has a KCI input image key as a key, and the value is actually the input image. And next we're going to create the filter, which is going to be a CI filter with a name and input parameters. And the name is actually our filter name that we get as a parameter in our function. And the input parameters are the filter parameters. And with that, we have defined our filter successfully. And now we have to process our image and get an output, create an output image, which is actually the filter.output image. And that's all there is to it. And now what we have to do in order to display the image correctly is we have to create an image reference. So let's do that by saying image reference equals drawing context dot create CG image, which is the output image from So in order to display our image correctly, we have to create an image reference, which we're going to do here, which is an image reference. And we will call drawing context. This is what we created here. And say create CG image with an image, which is our output image. And we will just use the output image's extent value, returns a rectangle that specifies the extent of the image. And that's what we're going to use. And now we can just say that the image view.image gets a new image, and we have to use the UI image initializer using the CG image initializer with scale and orientation. And we have a CG image. This is actually our image reference. Image reference, the scale, we also save that, which is the original scale, and the orientation, which is the original orientation. Well, and that's it. Let's have a look at this by simply calling this this method in our apply filter function, and I have just copied the name of our filter from the documentation, and we call apply filter with name, and the name for the black and white is CI photo effect mono. And when we run our application and have a look at the camera roll, just choose an image, apply filter, and that's it. Right, so now you can see that our image actually extends the image view's borders. So we have to go back to the storyboard and set clip subviews to active. So when we do this again, we choose our take a photo, we paste it here, apply filter, and you see we just get the black and white image, and the image is contained to the image view. All right, so now that we have done this, let's go ahead and save the image, and this is really nice. It's just a one-liner, so let's do UI image, write to saved photo albums, and we use the image view.image as an image, and we want none of these options. You could actually then show an alert view and saying, well, the image has been saved, and only do this when the image really has successfully been written to the camera roll. But we won't do this. We focus on in-app purchases now for the first time. And to do this, we will have a look at Parse. So what we do is we open Parse, and we need to create an application. And to do that, when you have logged in, you can actually go to your dashboard and create a new application. So I click Create New App. I call it Filter GoPro. I create the app. And the simplest way, when you already create an app, you take this quick start guide here, and then you choose what you want to do. I want to do a data application for mobile. I want to do it for iOS, and there is no Swift version yet, so I take Objective-C, and I have an existing project. So what I need to do is download the SDK as a first step. Okay, I'm downloading it now. And you can also see that I have to import several frameworks to my project. So while it is downloading, I will integrate this into the application. Just use my second screen here, and maybe I'm going to skip a little part of that so you see it's finished already. And I'm going to use, so you go to your project, go into in the General tab, and see here linked frameworks and libraries. And what you have to do is click the plus button and actually add everything you just saw in this list, which is Audio Toolbox, CF Network, and so on. And I'm going to do that just selecting here, search Audio Toolbar, Audio Toolbox, add this, and just do it with like CF Network. And I'm going to cut this from the video since this is a little annoying. So while you just blinked, I added these frameworks and zipped from my coffee, and I'm ready to continue. So we have added all the necessary frameworks, but we did not add the Parse library. And when you click on your downloads, you can see that you've got 3 frameworks, and we will just select them all and copy them to our project by simply drag and drop. And we must make sure that destination copy items if needed is selected, and say finish. And since this looks a little crowded here, we're going to select all the frameworks, right click it, and say new group from selection, and call this frameworks. And then we can simply close that and place that somewhere where it does not disturb us. So since Parse is actually completely based on Objective-C, and there are no Swift classes within this framework, we have to create a bridging header between Objective-C and Swift. To do that, we will just select the app delegate press Command N on the keyboard and create a new Cocoa touch class. But instead of using Swift as our language, we choose Objective-C, and we can just simply type any name of class here, click Next, and create. And Xcode is going to ask us if we would like to configure an Objective-C bridging header. Yes, we want. So say yes. And you see there are those two useless classes that we can get rid of directly. So delete them. What we are interested in is actually this filter GoPro bridging header. And I can now import here parse/parse.h into this bridging header. And once I built the application and the build succeeded, I can go to my app delegate, for example, and go to the did finish launching with options function. And when you go to back to the Parse introduction guide, you can see that we have to set up our application. And I will just copy this so that I know what I have to write. And we'll do this in application did finish launching with options. So you shouldn't copy this, actually, this application ID and this client key. You should set up your own application in your own Parse, with your own Parse account, since when too many people use this, I somehow get the impression that something goes wrong when time passes, and some people do upload. So you should actually use your own credentials here and create your own Parse account and just use your own application ID and client key. I'm going to set this as a comment. So you should actually use your own application ID and client key with your own Parse account. I will just add some comments here. And as you can see, after we have defined in our bridging header that we want to import Parse. We didn't specify anything in our Swift class here, but since we built the application, we can now add we can now access the Parse framework, and I can say parse.setApplicationID, and we have the application ID here, so I'm just copying it here, and we have a client key, so copy it here too, and that's it. Nothing more to do here. And well, after we did that, it is really cool. We only need to do two things in order to make in-app purchases work. So let's have a look at the documentation. What we need to do is first open iOS and OS 10 and go to the in-app purchases. And we really need just to call two functions, which is add observer for product. This is the one. We do that in application did finish launching with options. So as soon as the app launches, we add an observer for our product. And the second thing we do is we add the buy product function at the point where we want to buy a product. So that's it, no more. So where do we start? Let's start here. We will just say pf purchase. So this is the Parse class for purchases, and we will say add observer for product identifier. And our product identifier is, in our case, com.training.profilters. And remember, this is the identifier that I entered within iTunes Connect. So what you enter here depends on how you call your in-app purchase, what identifier you gave it. So now the block we want to execute is with this escape payment transaction. So I'm entering a transaction here, transaction, colon, and enter. And here we do the logic for setting the app to the right state. Once the user has purchased the pro features, we want to save this condition and until the user deletes the app, and then he has to click on the Go Premium button again, but then it restores the purchase automatically. So what we are going to do is we will create a user defaults object which then stores NS user defaults, standard user defaults. And if you don't know what user defaults are, this is simply a class that you can use to store tiny amounts of data, like a bool or something like that. So what we can do with this is saying user defaults set bool true. Well, I don't understand that really. So true for key pro user. So once someone completed the purchase, we set we create a new key value pair for the key is actually pro user and the value is true. So this is a pro user now, and we can then save this using user defaults.synchronize, and that's it. Now we have saved the state once someone has completed the purchase. So let me get rid of this comment here. All right. And now we just have to execute the buying process. And therefore, we just go to the back to our view controller, and there we have one function left with no code in it. And what we do, first we check if there is no error in the process of buying it. We use, therefore, the pf purchase class again and say buy product. And again, we have to use this identifier, which is com.training.profilters, and we have to execute this block. And this time we won't use this the exclamation mark. We are using this as an optional, since we want to see if the error is unequal to nil, not equal to nil. So if it's not equal to nil, we will have to create an alert, UI alert, controller, which has a title like error message. We could say the message is the localized description of the error itself, and we have UI alert controller style alert, and simply add one action, which is an OK button. UI alert action title OK, UI alert action style default, and we don't need a handler here, so let's just present it. Self present view controller animated. It's the alert true, no completion needed. So that's all we need to do. We just call buy product, and we have to see if there was an error. If there was no error, fine. If there was an error, then we will just tell the user that there was. Now, since we have now bought the product, when we press buy, when we press our button, the GoPro function is executed. We call buy product. The observer knows that we have done this, we have clicked on this button, and now we set the user default, so we know that we are now a pro user. So how are we going to offer the user now more features? Now we already created this apply filter function, which is pretty empty here, and we have to do some things here. First of all, let's say that we only want to apply a filter when the image view.image is not equal to nil. So if there is an image, we want to do something. And since we have stored the condition whether we are a pro user or not in the user defaults, we have to use the user defaults again. So user defaults equals to and as user defaults dot standard user defaults. And now we check if user defaults dot bool for key, and we call it this pro user. So if this is true, then we know that this is a pro user. And what we do now is we just copy our action sheet from here and all the stuff we did with it. Save a little time here. And what we want to do is simple. We now say not choose image source, we say choose filter. We say first maybe sepia. We can delete the code here. We can copy this code, and just copying it from the documentation, the sepia effect is called CI sepia tone, and also delete it from here, this code, this block, and we call this black and white, and there we can copy and paste our apply filter with name. So you have photo effect mono, and we are not allowed to forget to use self here because we are within a closure, and there you need to put a self to the to all method calls and all calls to properties. And if there is, so we are actually finished here. We just copied the action sheet, we gave it another title, we still have the cancel button, we have both image filters. So if we are a pro user, then we get two options, but else, if we are no pro user, when you press the apply filter button, then nothing actually happens. So let's just go ahead and test that. I choose or take a photo, and I click on it, and I apply the filter, and as you can see, we see nothing. Let's have a look. We set the else block at the wrong if, so we have to put it there, and have a look at it again. So we again choose an image. Let's say this one, apply the filter, and you see we get no action sheet. So let's go premium. And since you should really test that on a real device, let me just give you a quick look on how this is going to look like. So you press the Go Premium button, then you get the sign in required, and you press continue. You enter your sandbox user, and this environment sandbox only appears to you once you test it. The end user won't see this. So you confirm your in-app purchase. You say buy. Do you want to buy one premium filter? This is what you defined in the iTunes Connect settings when you create the in-app purchase. And then it says, thank you, your purchase was successful. And as soon as you did that, you can apply both image filters. Because we set this key in the NS user defaults to true. And if you restart the application or delete it, and you click on the Go Premium button, then you get the message, you've already purchased this. Would you like to get it again for free? You see that we did nothing of that, but it does it automatically. And this is really great. And if you again have a look on how little code we actually wrote for the in-app purchase feature, you see actually this is all there is. This is one part. And in the app delegate, we have another part. If you use consumable stuff within your purchase, then it can be useful to also use Parse to say, instead of using the NS user defaults, to save, let's say, the credits of a specific user. Since when he deletes the app from his phone, he loses all its credits when you save the credits in the user default. So if you have consumable items, you should always save them somewhere in the cloud, in iCloud, Parse, wherever this is the best places for you. So I hope you've enjoyed the in-app purchase tutorial, and have fun creating your own in-app purchases, and good luck on selling as much of them as possible.